McLeod. All right. So we are going to have a meditation class, and the subject today is Mindsight, or metacognitive awareness. And would any of you service-oriented folks mind closing the doors for us? 3 service-oriented, that's so nice. So metacognitive awareness. And what does this mean, metacognitive awareness? It means the mind's ability to take perspective on the mind. The mind's ability to take perspective on the mind. So later we might have like 2 minutes of discussion on the difference between metacognitive awareness and autocognitive awareness, which autocognitive awareness would be just the feeling of being aware itself. The fact that you know you are like a living being instead of a stone or something like that, you can call that autocognitive, the fact that you know you're aware. And metacognitive awareness is something which has caused many problems philosophically for a lot of schools, but as a tool, because they have this infinite regress. Oh, if I'm aware of my mind, then I can be aware of the awareness of my mind. But if I'm aware of the awareness of my mind, I can be aware of the awareness of my mind. And if that's true, then I can be aware of the werewolf of my mind. So we're not going to get into that at all. What turns out to be true is that just in kind of like psychological terms, like barring Spinoza, these that are now banned from the class, just in terms of our own psychology, when we're able to step back from the contents of our consciousness and witness all of those contents as if the sensation is like as if from an empty center, it actually creates a lot of peace and a lot of emotional flexibility, neurological flexibility. So that's what we're going to be into today, and it's going to be super duper fun. For those of you joining us at home, know that you are being recorded. I'm going to try to make sure that your face is not the one who is in the center of the screen, so that you don't get to be the star of the video as it's recorded. And then the other thing to know is that you're muted. So if you want to say something to me, then chat, just in case you forget to mute yourself and all of this rustling happens. I don't need that in my meditation, rustling, no. So type in the chat room if you have anything to say. You ready? Get started? Metacognitive Mindsight. It's going to be super fun. So I want to do a little exercise. We'll start off with a meditation, and if you are my Facebook friend, which if you're not, you should be my Facebook friend, also subscribe to the UUFLG YouTube page, then you'll have seen, I'm trying every Monday to put out a little video for Meditation Monday. So I share a 5 to 10 minute meditation that you can just follow along with. And this week, are we friends yet? Did you see one? Okay, it worked. My empire, my Facebook empire is growing. So this week we did a meditation called the Inner Smile. And this comes from a Taoist tradition. One of the nice things about Taoist meditators is that they often do meditations which are embodied. So your conscious, your mind is like tracing along the pathway of a meridian or something like that. And so these type of meditations actually help to bring us into awareness of life rather than kind of like disassociate us, and they can be good for some of us. Not all of you will like this meditation, but some of you it will be the thing. So little intro, we'll do it. It's a version. Last time we did a meditation on body scanning.
Avocado a little bit
classic Vipassana meditation comes from the old teachings of the Buddha 2,500 years ago. Psychologists use it now in mindfulness-based stress reduction. And this is kind of a similar thing, except it's following these Taoist meridian pathways, and you're using imagery and sensation to smile into the inner organs of your body along the specific path. So if you want to do that, just plain and straightforward, there's a video for you on my Facebook page. Become my friend. What we're going to do today is, because the topic is metacognitive awareness, not how do Taoists visualize their inner body, that's a different class. What we're going to do is use this as a way of getting in touch with and relating what is present and alive in us by bringing awareness to the body. So as you can do this as just sort of smiling and try to relax, progressive relaxation, but we're going to add an element of as I bring this relaxed present quality to my heart, I'm also going to notice if that brings up any emotions or stories or images in my mind. I'm going to notice if any peripheral sensations happen. So we've got, and this is going to be a consistent thread through the practices we do today. We have a practice, and then we have a noticing what happens in the mind as we do that practice. What happens in the rest of the body. And this is training in this thing sometimes called metacognitive awareness, the ability to have the mind doing something and then note how the mind feels, right? Having a little mind outside of the mind, not in a disassociated and unhealthy way, but actually in quite a healthy way. We get more present to what's taking place in this. So that's the brief introduction. Let me now just introduce the meditation steps, and then we'll just do it together. So what we're going to do, they call it the inner smile, and I think they call it that so you know you don't have to do this the whole time, because that's an outer smile. It actually feels kind of good. You don't have to do that. So the inner smile it's referring to a quality of awareness. Have you ever done a loving kindness meditation? Anybody learned that? Like you read Jack Kornfield's book, you went to a Buddhist thing or a Sufi thing, right? It's this notion, we sang it, if you were for the sermon, we sang the song, when I breathe in peace, when I breathe out love. And we sang another one, may I be happy, peaceful, and at ease. May you be happy, peaceful, and at ease. May we be happy, peaceful, and at ease. So when you find this, or when you practice this, you may find a type of sensation that many of us have already had, like if you have someone that you love in your life, a dog or a person or a who knows what, and you have this feeling of soft, warm desire for their happiness. Have we ever felt that about anyone? Just checking. If not, you could learn to feel it about me, and I'd be a practice person. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that type of awareness, and then we're actually going to guide it into our own body. So we're smiling. The first pathway starts, we smile to the face, we feel the face relax and the sensory organs. And then we imagine this loving, like, may I be happy, may I be relaxed. And the nice thing about this meditation, it's not a concept so much as a feeling. Like some people describe it as like, you feel it like warm sunlight, if that's relaxing for you, or like, being bathed in some sacred energy of some kind, whatever works for you. And so we feel that, relax these muscles, and then we're going to smile down through the tongue. This is just an acupuncture channel connection into the heart. And so then you feel this like you're kind of blessing and relaxing. Like if you had someone you loved that wasn't you, you might smile to them with your face or try to give them comfort through your presence. You do that to your own heart. And then we do that to the lungs. We do that to the liver, to the spleen. The liver's under your right rib cage, in case you haven't been to anatomy class in a while. The spleen's under your left rib cage. Your kidneys are retroperitoneal. In the back of everybody else. And so we smile down. Then, just following the classic, they smile down through your digestive tubes. Swirly, twirly, swirly, swirly, swirly. And then they smile down, visualizing the nervous system. So we're just going to do this. And then what I'll cue you every once in a while is then just to notice what happens in your mind as you're holding that gentle focus, love to the heart. And then does anything come up for you? Are you very present? Are you distracted? And then there's no wrong answers. Are you very distracted? Yes. Great. And then move on to the lungs. Are you very present? Yes. Great. Does anger come up for you when you come to the liver? Fabulous. Does it not? Okay. Whatever it is, it's the noting of that, and then coming back, just returning to the object of meditation. And we're developing a little skill. So let's try it, shall we? So just find a comfortable position. Remember, like Master Patanjali says, Shtiram, Sukham, steady and easy, comfortable. I like to close my eyes for this because it's less distracting. If you find that makes you nervous, your eyes can be opened all the way or partially. And just take a couple of breaths and find yourself preparing for meditation. Just get present with whatever's happening in the moment. You may notice sounds in the room. You may notice the feeling of your breath. You may notice what mood you're in. You may notice that you don't know what mood you're in. Just whatever's happening in the moment, just getting here. And then calling to mind that feeling, like perhaps if you were there present with someone that you loved, and the feeling almost like you were trying to give them comfort, or you wanted to show them how much you loved them, how you were present for them. There's a softening that happens in the face and the eyes. And then just imagine that that feeling of loving presence now begins to bathe your entire face. So the muscles of your face relax, your eyes relax, your sensory organs all begin to relax. Just gently spreading this loving presence sensation to the face, muscles, and organs. And then smile into your tongue. This is just following the acupuncture channels because this is an ancient practice. We'll do it the way they did it. And you smile as if the tongue was a channel of energy that went straight from your mouth down through your throat. The throat relaxes. And down into your heart. So smiling as if you could bring this kind of loving presence that you would give to a good friend into your own heart organ. Feeling as if it begins to relax, soften. And then just note, does anything happen in your body and mind as you bring your awareness to your heart? Are you very focused, just plain, yes, I'm focused on my heart? Or does a feeling or emotion come up for you? Do you suddenly get resistant to the exercise, or do you suddenly go, oh, now I see why we're doing this? Whatever happens, just note it. And then for just another moment, feel as if this smiling, loving presence is bathing your heart. And then imagine that it flows laterally into your lungs. If you like to visualize, some people will see this as light, but you may just have it as a feeling. Feeling as if smiling, loving presence bathes your lungs. Then again, noticing just peripherally what happens in your mind, your emotions. Do your body sensations change? Just returning the awareness fully to just bathing the lungs in this sense of smiling, compassionate presence. Smiling now down on the right side of the ribs underneath to your liver. Okay, you can smile to the gallbladder too. You convinced me. Feeling this soft, welcoming presence, filling your liver. And then just again, notice as you put the presence there, just take stock. Does your mind or body change? Does anything happen? What's the quality of your awareness? Return the mind to the liver, smiling and being present. Smiling across the body to the underneath the left side of the rib cage. Your spleen and your pancreas are located there. So imagine that you can just bathe these organs in that loving and compassionate presence. And then just feel, does your mind stay the same? Does it change? New stories or no stories? How about the rest of your body? See if you can take stock of how relaxed or unrelaxed you are, and if that's different now from the beginning of the meditation. And then once again, just bathing the spleen and pancreas, fully present with that visualization. Smiling backwards into your kidneys. As if you can just give loving presence to that organ. Just note if anything changes in your body or mind. Just returning fully to the meditation, bringing that loving energy into the kidneys. Just a quick note, if you smile to any areas in your body and you suddenly feel very uncomfortable, you don't have to try to wrestle the mind to stay there. Just place the mind on something that makes you feel relaxed. You can even open your eyes and just stop meditating. So just note that there's always safety to be had. So then finally from the kidneys, we smile down to the reproductive organs at the base of the body. Just shining that loving presence. Just noting if anything changes in the mind or if the mind seems to stay the same. Coming back up, and again, generating that feeling in your face, like you were smiling to a loved one or a friend. For some people, if they're either religious or just they want to suspend disbelief for the length of an exercise, sometimes they imagine a beautiful energy shining toward them, as if from the universe. Whatever works for you. The visualizations all have valid effects. Just trying to get that feeling. And so now, from your face, you're going to smile through the mouth, down through the esophagus, and into your stomach, smiling through all these digestive tubes. Down from the stomach, through the small intestine. You don't have to know exactly where all the curves are, just know it fills up the center of your abdomen. And then at the lower right abdomen, it turns into the large intestine, which climbs up toward the rib cage on the right. It goes across the transverse colon, then it goes down the left side, and just smiling as if you can just bring presence to all of your digestive organs. The large intestine goes out and leaves the body. And we finish that line. And then once more generating this feeling of just compassionate, spacious awareness. Whether you imagine it coming from you or coming to you, feel it filling your face, your eyes, your ears, your nose and mouth, all gently smiling. And imagine now this sense of presence or visualized light fills your brain. The brain doesn't really get tense like a muscle, but it can feel that way. So we can imagine any of those areas of the brain that are tense, this smiling goes in and relaxes them. Any of the areas of your brain that feel tired, the smiling goes in and vivifies them. Smile through the upper brain, down through its layers all the way to your brain stem. Smile down through the spinal cord. And imagine that all the nerves that come both directly out of the brain and also from the spinal cord, this smiling energy travels down all the nerves. And so it fills the entirety of your body. All the parts of your body that can be sensed. You're filling with this present, soft, loving awareness. And once again, just notice what's happening in your mind, the quality of your attention, or if any stories or feelings have come alive with these new areas of attention. Just noticing whatever's happening. Then resting this gentle awareness in the lower belly, down below your belly button. I like to visualize like a ball of light in that area, about the size of a softball. This is a meditation they often use in the Zen tradition because they find that when you place awareness low in the body, it helps the mind to settle. But see if that's true for you. As you just rest the awareness in the lower belly, does your mind settle and get quiet? Or does something else happen? Good. Then in a traditional Buddhist style, to finish our meditation, we can just wish that where these feelings of relaxation and love have arisen in us, may they continue to develop. And where compassion and love have yet to grow, may the seed be planted for that today. And then finishing the meditation, take a few moments for your mind to drift back up to a conversational level. When you're ready, you can deepen the breath and just stretch the body out, and we'll come all the way back to this space together. Okay, and then just in case you're sleepy, rub your paws, and you can just wash the face a little bit. Don't mess up your makeup. If you mess up your makeup, you press. I learned this in massage school. Okay, and then I'm so cool. This is the Fanzarelli Qigong. And then stroking the beard, I'm so wise. In medical Qigong therapy, they advise this motion actually if you suffer from anxiety. And there is something in the body-mind connection that as you stroke down, often the feelings of this lifting up, you just kind of ease it down. Okay, so I'd love to hear if you have any first questions or like exciting things that happened during that meditation or challenging things. And then we'll talk about how was it to try to do the meditation and then also scope out and become aware of yourself doing the meditation and then scope back in and what that was like. So first, any just comments on the smiling, heart organs stuff? Did it work for you? Do you have a question or something to share? Donna? What? Good. Maybe you needed it. Were you guys snoozing together over there? That's yeah. So, no, that's so sweet. As a meditation teacher, this can mean one thing for your ongoing practice. Sometimes we say, if you go to sleep, sometimes it just means you needed some sleep. And so like in a meditation class, the nice meditation teachers I've met were like, hey, if you just pass out, just like, you're getting it on some level. Just get the rest you need. You know, and it's like, gosh, if you felt safe enough in the space to go to sleep, that's actually kind of, that's a good nervous system maybe. But the other thing is that maybe this isn't the practice for you. Like if you try it a few times and you always fall asleep, then, and you try another meditation and you don't, and you just relax, then you want to know there's no one size fits all that like, well, if you can't do the inner smile, practice until you can, set an alarm clock. No, just like do a meditation that works for you. Maybe it's looking at a flowering tree. And so your senses are engaged, and so you relax while staying lucid, right? So this is as modern, nice to ourselves people, and we're looking to develop a meditation practice. Like let's play on our strengths and find what puts us into that relaxed and lucid place consistently, and then just do that. So that would be, if you like this one, but you're like, I don't know, you just try it like 3 times. If you always fall asleep, set it aside for a couple years. If you only fell asleep once, then just, you needed rest that day. Awesome. So cool. Thanks for sharing that.
For bringing attention to parts of myself that I can't see, but that are constantly working so hard for me.
Yeah.
Along with my heart. liver. These are, I'll never see them.
Right.
And to show them gratitude.
That's cool.
I've never done that.
That's cool. When you're speaking, I get a nice, like, warm feeling in my own heart. So thanks for that. Yeah. What else? Others? Yeah.
Well, I've heard of Mindsight actually have worked, but never actually read it. So I've done like the yen organism on before, giving gratitude to them. I've heard that, but I have never done it to the yang organs, the large intestine. And it was amazing in this one because you had that picture up during your talk today about the 5 Buddhas, which I still don't know the story of, which would be interesting.
Let's chat sometime.
Yeah, and so I started imagining the heart was really hard for me. And I just said, just do the gratitude thing. And then when I got to the liver is the wood element, forest, and the green. And all of a sudden I felt like I was in a forest. It appeared before me like this knight well, not like shining knight, but kind of, he was a bulky man on a horse. Dark hair, and I know the gallbladder is the young the general. And
yeah.
So
he's the field lieutenant.
Yeah, and then I have another image of my kidneys and of the spleen being kind of not only a worried woman, but also a woman of studying and that I had never had that experience before.
How cool.
So I thought this is really
yeah, and that may be, whoever knows why we have any particular experience in a meditation, but it may be that because you were asking, when I smile to this, what happens in me? It gave the space for these other things to happen. And so it's a cool tool to fiddle with a little bit.
I have a little bit of that, I guess,
right.
Studies,
yeah.
Also, just having it come in like first time.
That's neat. That sounds really fun. Let me read to you from, Rhiannon, you sent this privately, so give me a thumbs up if you want it shared. Okay, good. So she says, at first my mind seemed to be making known associations, so probably like she's a Chinese medicine person too, I'm guessing. And then later it was actually observing differences in sensation. Yeah, so we can then play with that, like, my liver stores frustration and anger, but it's also the seat of benevolent generosity. And that's one level, and then sometimes you'll go underneath and you'll be like, oh no, wait, I'm calling it frustration, but it's life force, and you get in touch with this raw sensation. So it's all just, we get to play with it and experiment. Couple more, yeah.
I feel like with this meditation, I always get distracted because when I put that good feeling in different parts of my body, it like the hair stands up on my and I get these really good sensations, and I feel like I'm going to make like a sex noise or something like that in public, and I'm just thinking about other things,
That's polite of you. Thanks, Albert, for not making us awkward. But yeah, so doing it at home with the video, make all the noise you want. Hey, cool. Yeah, and that's like totally, when we're doing this, that's the thing, is like, do this and then notice what comes up. And some of us, when we're trained to meditate, we get so focused on doing the meditation that we never actually have that other experience of like, oh, when I do this, that feels really good. And then you could just chill out and feel good for a minute. That's totally allowed. Wow. Okay, what else, Sue-Ann?
I guess my heart is breathing things. It's like, stay here. And so I did.
Thank you for taking care of yourself. Yeah, and so sometimes, that's another nice thing about this metacognitive awareness is that you could just follow along meditation, but if you listen and go like, well, what's really happening in the heart? It's like, no, this is it. And then you get a chance to listen to that. And it can be quite rewarding sometimes. Cool.
Yeah.
Zaina.
I had a neat experience. Lately I've been working with trust with myself, and I had some fear come up when I was in certain organs around something in particular. And at first I was like, oh, fear. And then something just spontaneously happened where I asked myself, or that part of me, can you trust me with that feeling, with that fear? And then all of a sudden it was yes. And then there was relaxation around that.
Cool. And that's a great little bridge to this idea of the metacognitive, because we're not making a pathological dualism of okay, well, here's this part of my mind and it controls this part of my mind. But if we can set up like an authoritative, compassionate self, the other selves that have all these challenges actually can get the presence and love that they need from you, right? And so we're learning, it's actually not something you really have to invent. It's just something you have to get used to. We all, I have to read the research, but most of us have the capacity to sort of separate a wise, compassionate self and let the contents of consciousness arise within that and bring ourselves comfort. And this is where this research on Mindsight, you can read Siegel's book on it. I won't present a lot of the research. We're going to have more practice and maybe a little discussion today. But what it shows is that when you learn to do that, to create a wise, compassionate self that observes the contents of your feeling and thinking body, it has all of this great healing effect. And you can do it in conjunction with traditional therapy and things like that. And you can really integrate aspects of ourselves that remain unintegrated otherwise. So quite fun. Maggie.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was rough. I've had some pain that's like super compelling, and so being in the sensation channel of things is just, it's really intense to watch myself really try to move my attention away in the same channel of perception of sensation. And the pain that's going on, I'm finding, isn't so much the kind of pain that benefits a lot from like the sensation being online, like really in my awareness, like it's not so healing for me to just be in it and just spend a lot of time in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just getting like I'm feeling compassion for like the world of folks who have a hard time with the sensation-based.
Totally. Yeah. So in case you're not personally familiar with this, a couple of points in what Maggie presents is sometimes, like in meditation in particular, sometimes we'll have pain, like you'll get an ache in your butt or something like that while you're meditating. And then one of the ways you can deal with that is actually to feel more into the ache in your butt, and then it'll start to morph and change and melt, and then it goes away. You're like, weird. Or it becomes beautiful, or all this, or it just stays painful, but there's this like staying with, going into the pain, going toward it. At other times, like some research shows, like if you have migraines, for example, doing body sweeps that actually distribute your awareness can relieve the actual migraine. And then there are some times where you have intense physical sensations, and coming more into sensation either doesn't touch them at all or makes them worse, right? And so it's just a nice thing to know that, again, from our talk earlier today, the name of the game is diversity, okay? We're loving ourselves with the inner smile, but if that doesn't feel loving to you or nurturing, then you're welcome to do something else. We have to really work with the system that is here and give ourselves the love that we need. That's why we're meditating anyway. So thank you for sharing that. That's really beneficial for us. Got something for me, Brady?
That was the lesson.
Awesome.
I got to the awareness of my lungs. I was hyper aware of all the pollen.
Yeah.
And then I needed to cough. And then that reminded me my sinuses started to drop.
Yep.
That reminded me that the tinnitus inside my head and I no longer can hear. So I needed to go there. I need to repeat this. Is it going to be on YouTube?
Yes, this should be archived for us.
I need a refresher light.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah, play with it and then see what happens. And then sometimes it's just not the practice for us at this time, and that's fine. And then other times you come back with a slightly different slant. You're like, oh, cool. So one way to play that, if you decide, I imagine, Maggie, you might do this meditation again in your life at some point and just like to try it out. So there's a Zen secret, just so hot right now. I should advertise this class, not as how to meditate, but as Zen secrets to get ahead in life or something. But so I went on a weird jag where I was like, how do people withstand intense pain? How do Navy SEALs get trained for that, and stuff like that? And one of I saw a couple of listings, and one was, that Zen meditation has actually shown people who meditate can reduce their subjective experience of pain and discomfort just by their ongoing meditation practice. One of the ways that this happens, and we're not going to do this today, but one of the ways that it's done is rather than the one where you go into the pain and you try to love it more and stuff like that, and not dissociate it, but you attempt to make a space that's like, in spite of the fact that even when, especially when, I'm loving and relaxed. So especially when, even when my face is all doing its thing and this and that, I still am spacious, loving, and aware. And so you're letting and sorry to tease you with this, and then we're not going to teach it today, but it's like you're letting those sensations rise up within a vast field of awareness, and that can actually reduce the subjective experience of discomfort. So something to just play with, just add it to your life if you want to, and see what happens. So you could do that within this meditation. If challenging sensations come up, and this is, I didn't mention in the beginning, I mentioned like halfway through, oh, and you might feel discomfort, and feel free to move away from that. The idea is if you're with your therapist or you're ongoing doing this practice, you might choose to go into it, but you might also, it's just as healthy and sometimes more effective to zoom out. And so it's like, okay, there's that, but here's me, way over here, observing. And you get to play with this, and it's all of different versions of perspective taking and compassion.
It sounds a little like Stephen Hines' soft belly. Soft belly.
Tell me, how do you do it?
Creating more space to hold whatever is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Space gets big enough so that it's somehow works.
Yeah, and it's tricky because, and we'll do this in a meditation that's coming up shortly. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun and meditating. But it's tricky because you are attempting to change uncomfortable sensations, but the way you do that is by like radically allowing uncomfortable sensations. And so if you can find that little middle ground kind of, it can be really interesting and magical. So we'll do it with the mind in a minute. Okay, let's see. How did it feel? We've had a couple because they bleed right in together, but how did it feel to smile to the thing and then zoom out and go, how's my awareness right now? Did that work for people? Was that distracting? Was that interesting? Went fast? The meditation went fast, or?
Well, I could have spent maybe 2 hours.
Yeah,
just doing that, but
that's fun. Yeah, totally.
It's good to go through it shorter.
I got another practice I want to give you today. Okay, what else? Others? Yeah.
I kept thinking about the function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
I thought about it. I have occasional like pressure.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot more help.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and so this is a great way, this sort of zoom out, zoom in is a great way to build some of the skills that we need in meditation to be able to see what comes up, come back to the object of the meditation, and basically just know what our own mind is doing. This is a fundamental skill that most of us never learned. Because our class is only an hour, I won't rattle on about how important I think it is. But you can read Dan Siegel's book, Mindsight, highly recommended. It's on audio if you need it. And there's this notion that when we get this ability to take perspective on our own mind, we gain the capacity to integrate all sorts of thoughts and emotions that were previously unintegratable, right? Because we weren't big enough. We were the subject. When you make that subject the object, and who you are is this compassionate awareness, all of a sudden, like magical things can unfold. Just like you pay a therapist to do, or you ask Reverend Fajun to do for you every once in a while or something like that. And somebody holds space. Have you gone to Santa Cruz often enough to have someone talk about holding space? Let me hold space for you, right? And the word is so descriptive because it's like, if you put something in there, you'll actually mess it up, right? If somebody's going to say, oh, this happened when I was a kid, and then this, and then I'm going through this, and if I'm like, oh, well, I know how to fix that, like it ruins it. But if it's like, wow, how beautiful that you would share that with me. Oh, I could see how that, if you actively create space for that, it's actually healing. So that's what we're learning to do for our own mind, is we are holding space for our own mind. So 2 practices, good, no chats, that's very excellent. 2 things I want you to know. The first one is just a on-the-spot daily life practice that I'll give you, and then you can try it out. And this actually comes from a modification of nonviolent communication. So in last month's communication class, we talked about not only is it nice to learn to talk nice to others, but it's also nice to learn to talk nice to yourself. Right? And this is a practice that my partner Maria sort of invented, which is, I don't remember what she calls it, but I'm going to call it clearing the 3 centers. And these are your head, your heart, and your belly. So in nonviolent communication, they talk about, and that class I think got archived, could be findable if you wanted to watch it. They talk about, you learn this skill of making observations. Like if you're having a challenging conversation with a person, you learn to sort of step back and say like, oh, when you began to speak more loudly, and then you learn to own your own feelings, I felt anxious. And then you learn to own your own needs because I need a sense of safety, right? And you learn to say this without making the other person responsible for your sense of safety. But we're learning how to go through and go like, oh, when this happened, I felt like this because I need this. And what a lot of us discover is that when we try this, we realize we're going around so shoulded and sort of like culturally entranced that how often do we get to stop and actually ask, what am I feeling? Right? Oh, well, I feel like he's a jerk and he shouldn't have done that. No. That's about him. Good. We know what you think about him. What are you feeling? Well, I feel like this situation really, it's not right. It's not how things should go. Yes, that's your assessment of the situation. What do you feel? And then 3 hours later, it's like, I think I'm sad. Oh, wow. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. Maybe it's because like I've received the cultural education as a man. And so like, we're just not supposed to have any of those. But I think all of us are taught how to not have those, or to translate them into assessments and thoughts and strategies immediately, because feelings can be uncomfortable. Right? So this practice from Maria is, my partner, at numerous times a day, or if you get in a challenging moment, but learn to do it while you're soft too, because it's easier. The brain works better when you're soft, is to just ask yourself first, what am I telling myself? Right? So you may be noting some observations, and then just get real with like, what's my mind spinning about the situation that I'm in? Right? Oh, I'm telling myself that they're all having a good time at meditation class. I'm basing that on observations, right? Nobody's going like this, right? So, oh yeah, well, how do you feel? Gratified? Yes, I feel gratified. Well, why? What needs is that fulfilling for you? Well, I long to make a meaningful contribution. I long for a sense of community and relaxation. And so since I am telling myself I'm doing my job, that makes me feel gratified because I think I'm contributing and like being in community. We're all kind of relaxing and meditating together, taking care of ourselves. That's cool. And that's a much deeper thing than what we usually get when somebody says like, how are you doing? Oh, fine. And the only problem, that's a great social shortcut, but the only problem is we tend to talk to ourselves that way too. How you doing, self? Oh, well, not too much bad happened today. What's on TV? Or whatever you do, right? So play with this idea of anytime you might ask, how you doing, self, to go through the 3. What am I telling myself, right? And I had to do this the other day because I had an emotionally challenging situation, and so I'll change the names to protect the wicked or something like that. I'll change the situation even, but I was like getting all this distress, and being a person who wasn't ever trained to like deeply be aware of my emotions, I have to do the process every time. Like, oh, I feel really distressed. Isn't there something I'm supposed to be doing? Oh, wait. What what am I telling myself? You know, and there was this whole thing of like, oh my gosh, I'm being ostracized, and then this and that, and like projections from my teenage years, and like, oh, I'm going to be left out, and that's going to do this. All of this like future tripping and mind reading about others' intentions. I was like, oh, that's an interesting story to know. And then cool thing is you don't have to judge your stories. You just have to notice that you're telling them to yourselves. Often that's enough to get you, because you're no longer the subject who's in the story. I'm the protagonist of an ostracization story. No, you're like, but that might be true. But we know that it's the story I'm telling myself. Okay, well, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling frustrated. And I'm feeling scared. And like, really? I didn't even identify as a person who feels scared at ever. But I guess I am one of those, okay? Well, what are you needing? Well, the same ones in meditation class. To matter, to contribute, community, you know, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, like my experience, have you ever had this where you go from like a crummy emotional experience that's all tight into an unpleasant emotional experience that you can be present with? Like, you know, best case scenario, it's actually healing. You're like, oh my gosh, I just unraveled a bunch of 14-year-old drama that was lodged in my subconscious. But like even worst case scenario, like you're still uncomfortable, but you're no longer kind of operating in habitual reaction mode. You're like, okay, uncomfortable, cool. And there's also a big compassionate me residing with little uncomfortable me and giving it the comfort. Like I can't get it from outside, mostly because the challenging situation was totally concocted. So I can't fix it outside anyway, but I can give that to myself. So what am I telling myself? What am I feeling? What am I needing? And this is just a little on the spot. This is not exactly meditative, but it's an application of this metacognitive awareness. You could do it as a contemplation. You could take, 20 minutes and do this in a couple hours. But then throughout the day, it's going to highlight this metacognitive capacity. And then this is the same thing. When we zoom out and we be the big compassionate self, we can take the little needy self in hand and give it comfort. And that's quite pleasant. Okay, so I want to give you one more meditation practice, if you are willing. We've got all of 6 minutes, and that's good because this doesn't have to take too long. So last meditation class or something, I think we did mindfulness of the body. Our last class was on mindfulness, yeah? So we did mindfulness of the body, we did mindfulness of the breath. These are the two real classic ones. And then the one that we don't get to do often, we maybe touched on, is mindfulness of the mind. Mindfulness of the mind. And so I want to practice it with you. We're going to do just a little smidge. And this one, see how you like it. This is one it's like a fine wine, right? Like your first one, if you drink it right now, that tastes kind of like grape juice. It's a little vinegary. But if you age with it a little bit, it might become your best bud. So here's why it's a little challenging, is that your only meditation object is to watch each thought rise up, stay a bit, and then pass away. And then a thought rises up, stays a bit, and passes away. There's no regulation of what kind of thought. We're not going, okay, the breath. Oh, I'm judging, come back to the breath. No, you sit in that compassionate awareness, and then judgment comes up and you go, oh. And then eventually it dies down, like everything. Yeah. Wow, that was a cool one. And you watch yourself telling your story about how cool it was that a thought rose up and then died back down, and then that dies down. And you're like, I wonder when this is going to be over. I'm still wondering. Then another part of the mind's like, that was a long one. And you're like, oh, I'm not thinking about the wondering when it's going to be over. Okay, and then it dies away. Some of them very sudden, some of them stay forever. So let's try it just for 4 minutes of mindfulness of the mind. And see what, it might be your favorite meditation. You might hate me for making you do this, but let's just see what happens. So comfy posture, Shtiram Sukhamasanam. Eyes can be closed or open. I recommend for beginners like myself, you close them to reduce distraction. And then it's very easy. Your meditation object is always right there if you're doing this one. Just note what's happening in your mind. Are there thoughts or emotions? Just let them rise up. Note them while they're happening and then let them die away. And we're not attempting to control the process at all. Just be aware of how you're practicing at the moment. Fine distinction is make sure to stay in the role of the observer. So we're both not trying to squash any thoughts, but we're also not spinning them. So if you can, don't go in and work with the thoughts. Just let them do their own thing. Rise, stay, and then pass. One more time, just notice how you're practicing. Did you get all involved in the thought, or are you still witnessing them? Whatever it is, just observe that. Okay, and then letting go of that formal practice. Just take a couple deep breaths. Giving the mind the suggestion to come back to just normal functioning. And relax. Okay, easy, hard, best meditation ever, hardest meditation ever? What do you think? Yeah, hard. It's not.
I find it, you know how they say nature or
Uh-huh.
but I find reminding of
Yes. Yes. So one thing that's cool about that is if that's uncomfortable, then you might choose a meditation that has a definite object. If that's not uncomfortable, there's no problem with the mind continually generating thoughts. In this meditation, the sign of success is not that the mind gets quiet. The sign of success is that you're observing the mind being noisy. So subtle distinctions in types of meditation, because sometimes we have a goal that the mind will settle down. And so if that is the goal, pick a meditation that does it. But if the goal is developing this metacognitive awareness, mind can be as noisy as it wants, and you're doing nothing wrong and it's not a problem. And that's kind of nice. Now, we did this quickly, so you also may not have noticed one of the effects of this sometimes is that the mind will generate thoughts for 15 minutes. Oh gosh, I'm so tired of the mind generating thoughts. Oh wait, that's a thought too. Okay, observe that. And then after a while, it goes like, oh, I'm so tired of the mind generating thoughts. What's for dinner? I don't know what's for dinner. And you get gaps in between where that relaxation does, and there's a vacuum that's not abhorrent. So it's something to play with if you enjoy this type of meditation. If you don't, start with something more enjoyable because you'll do it. And then once you develop a reserve of enjoyment than do stuff that's weird and that you just want to experiment with. So another comment or question? Yes, Maggie was first.
This is my favorite practice.
Really?
I love this practice. After so many years of doing different practices and being with your meditative guidance, I experience those gaps, and I find that the only way to really observe and to truly observe is to just be in this beautiful vacuumous presence.
Yeah.
So that's really lovely.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Mahamudra. Sweet.
So, it's interesting to me afterwards too, was how the thoughts that were arising in my mind are the same ones that are like.
Isn't that amazing?
Over my life for years.
Yeah.
And it was a relief.
Huh.
To be able to step back and observe them.
That's cool. Yeah. That's my favorite part about this meditation too. I'm learning the part that Maggie talked about, of like getting those gaps. But my favorite part is when I learned this meditation years ago, I learned that like the stories that are happening in my mind are not me. And then I learned that my mind habitually generates the same stories. And somehow, like, I'm 50% less grumpy than I could be today because of that awareness. And so that's pretty fabulous. So that was my share. Okay, Albert?
I think it would have gone longer. It'd have been better, but I've had the song stuck in my head all day and I just couldn't get it out of my head. I wasn't trying to get it out of my head, but I just know it was just there. So I was just enjoying it.
Nice. Right? Just enjoy it. Cool. Yeah, so this is just a taste. We can do this more in a future class and maybe experiment with a longer session and see. But this is, in the Tibetan schools, they call this style of meditation Mahamudra. It's one version of the system of Mahamudra. And the notion is that they say the mind is like a muddy glass of water. And so instead of doing anything, you just let it sit there, and the mud eventually all settles to the bottom. So you're just sitting there. Thoughts will go, emotions will go, and then eventually, if you don't get in there and go, oh, that one's acceptable, this one's not acceptable, they'll peter out all on their own. See? Mahamudra. Yeah, and I can tell you later if you need it again. So the last thing, and then we'll get out of here because we're in overtime, for you like ongoing meditative practitioners, and especially for the ones who study Buddhist meditation, what we're practicing today is also a specific practice to help your single-pointed concentration. So last time we did mindfulness, which is in a classic meditation context from these Indian schools, means the ability to bring the mind back to an object, right? Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come again is the Rumi poem about it, right? So I'm meditating my breath, the mind flies off, I bring it back to the breath, and that's relaxing. Thank goodness for my breath. So that's called mindfulness classically. And then they say once you get a little bit of that, if you want to get deeper, more relaxed, more blissful in your meditation, develop metacognitive awareness. And so your homework, if you're doing a meditative practice, is to occasionally have a little piece of your mind that asks, how's my meditation going right now? Right? So you're breathing, you're bringing your mind back, or you're listening to the guided audio, or you're doing the inner smile, and then occasionally just go, how's my meditation going? Is my concentration bright and intense? Is it too tight? And you just ask, how am I with this meditation? And you use this mind-taking perspective on itself to actually guide the quality of your meditation. So that's a little more, that's for you intermediates who are like, ooh, my meditation's good, but it could have more intensity. The fixity is fine, but I need, this is the next level. Once you've got a baseline in mindfulness, is you cultivate taking perspective on the mind and just seeing how it's going. So I hope you enjoyed our class. We got 3 practices in: inner smile, clearing the 3 centers, and Mahamudra meditation. Use them as you will. And we will practice again next month, about a month from now. Until then, I hope you are filled with loving kindness and wellness. Bye, Rhiannon.